Thanksgiving. Ah, Thanksgiving. When you hear the word Thanksgiving, the first thing you may think about is turkey, or maybe football. Or perhaps you look forward to a couple days off from school. In the 1600s, the first Thanksgiving had nothing to do with turkey, football, or school. It did take place during the fall, and soon after the crops in the field were harvested, there was a huge feast shared by many people. Thanksgiving is an annual celebration and a national holiday, which commemorates a harvest festival celebrated by the Pilgrims in 1621. In the United States, it is held on the fourth Thursday in November. It is often remembered by religious observances and a traditional meal, which today includes turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and gravy, and maybe pumpkin pie. Maybe you don't like pumpkin pie, so you can have something else. The present Thanksgiving holiday did not become official until 1863. Before that time, 3 different presidents, beginning with George Washington, tried to make it a national holiday. It was limited to state observances and celebrations, but it just didn't gain widespread traction. Many people believed that Thanksgiving should become a national holiday. Sarah Joseph Hale, an editor of a popular women's magazine and author of the poem Mary Had a Little Lamb, campaigned again to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. Finally, in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving as a federal holiday and signed the proclamation that last Thursday in November would be the day that Thanksgiving would be observed. Since that time, Americans have celebrated Thanksgiving every year with a traditional meal, often with family and friends, and giving thanks for blessings, and taking time off from work and school. And since 1924, Thanksgiving has also been celebrated with Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and tons of football. Isn't that great? Thank you, President Lincoln. In 1621, the day you know as Thanksgiving was not called Thanksgiving, but the people who celebrated gave thanks for their blessings and shared a meal with their family and friends. That special day was not celebrated every year like it is today. Let's go back to year 1620, when about 130 passengers boarded the sea-going vessel, the Mayflower. These people eventually became known as the Pilgrims, and they left their homes in England for many different reasons to come to America. They sailed upon the high seas of the Atlantic Ocean, and after 66 long and grueling storm-tossed days, finally landed at Plymouth in the state of Massachusetts. It was late fall when they arrived, and there were no crops or food to harvest or gather. The first winter was harsh, with only the very few supplies that these travelers brought with them, and finding a few provisions and tools and pots belonging to the Native American people. These members of Plymouth Colony decided to take them and use them to survive. After building a few houses, a larger common house and a few smaller family houses, these brave souls did their best to survive that first winter. Many perished. By the end of winter, only 47 had survived. In the spring of 1621, after that terrible winter, the Pilgrims and the nearby Native American people called the Wampanoag people signed a treaty to begin peaceful relations. A Native American named Squanto, who could speak English, met the Pilgrims and joined with them, teaching them to hunt, fish, plant crops, and farm the land. He was a big help to the families and people of Plymouth Colony. The fall of 1621 brought a reasonable harvest. The Pilgrims of Plymouth Colony had survived their first year in the land. It was time to prepare for another winter, but they wanted to celebrate. They sent out men to hunt ducks and other animals for food. They fished and gathered a portion of their crops to share in the celebration. The Wampanoag people probably thought the Pilgrims were preparing for war, but they soon discovered they were not preparing for war. They were hunting and celebrating. A leader of the Wampanoag went to visit Pilgrims, and soon it was decided that the two groups of people would celebrate together. A hunting party of Wampanoags went out and hunted deer. This was going to be a great celebration. They partied for 3 days, playing games, singing songs and dancing, and of course eating venison, which is deer meat, fish, shellfish, corn, duck, lobster, and eel, but not turkey and not pumpkin pie. Prayers and thanks were likely offered at the first celebration, but 2 years later in 1623, they gathered together again to give thanks to God for rain after a 2-month drought. The historic birth of Thanksgiving in America is Plymouth, a small town in Plymouth County, Massachusetts. Thanksgiving is a celebration with family and friends, and a special meal honoring the early settlers of America, and a time to give thanks for your blessings.